I really don't have the best track record when it comes to starting businesses. My clothing brand, Falcon, failed. My skate wax company, Wonder Wax, failed. They're not failing for any other reason aside from my lack of business knowledge, really. I think with this whole metal fabrication and fingerboard rails, all that type of stuff, I think the way that I'm gonna go about it this time is really either gonna make or break the success of this. First things first though, I have a big old sheet of plate steel in the back, and someone had a very valid point in my video where I mentioned, you know, rearranging the skate park. I sort of said like, oh, look, I don't really need to get any vehicles into the garage. I can just turn it into this whole fab shop. But then someone said like, what if you need to like get metal into the fab shop with a truck? We're gonna see if we can squeeze past all the skate obstacles and get back there. The odds of me hitting something are very high. The first thing I have to avoid is the box. It's kind of hard to see on the backup camera, but that's the Keen Ramps box right there. You can also see the A-frame in that mirror though. Keep in mind, I'm still new to this whole big ass truck thing. I don't feel like immensely comfortable maneuvering it yet, because I'm used to like a small compact car. Okay, we're squeezing past the box. This is a good, dude, I don't know about the A-frame, hold on. Worst comes to worst, obviously, I can slide it off to the side. I want to kind of see if I can fit without having to do that. The box is fine. I'm just saying, like, if we hug this side and like kind of come up, because this is only what, 3.5, 4 feet of actual like paved asphalt, but like we might be able to hug it right here. And then this one, obviously, this can move. Oh, this one we can just put on over to the side for now. Now, see, looking at it from this angle, I think we should be able to make that fine. We're chilling. I'm not used to having a truck yet, so like realistically, I mean, I could probably hug so much closer to this and ride up on there if I needed. I'm not used to being able to do truck things yet. We're cutting it kind of close to the A-frame though. Back it up. No, we're good, baby. Look at that. We made it. We're good. Also, everyone's telling me like, bro, dude, you gotta paint this like neon green or yellow or add reflective tape to it because you're gonna hit it at nighttime. First of all, honestly, you're right. Like, very valid. But second of all, we got lights. Like, we got a bunch of floodlights here, so if they're like motion lights, or if I'm ever here at night, like, it's gonna be very day-lit, light-lit, you know what I'm saying? Also, I learned that the reflectiveness of it, that's not gonna be the problem. If I didn't have a lifted truck, this thing is just door ding central. You back up into the shop, right? You open up your door and boom, that thing is gonna smack into that and ruin your day. But hey, guess what? We do have a lifted truck, and no one else is really gonna be here besides me and a couple of my homies who I'll give the heads up to. I think it's fine. Inside of the bed here, we have, I guess it really doesn't look that exciting, but this is like almost 200 pounds, I think. Like 130 or I forget exactly. It's heavy. It's over 100 pounds. It is a 2 foot by 4 foot by 1/4 inch just slab of steel. But first, one of you guys had a comment that was cracking me up because I've been doing like the ongoing stupid joke about like the garage door opening. Someone told me that I should get like a wireless, like a lav mic, and put the mic on the door so it's just maximum volume and just maybe next time. This time, just turn your volumes up. It gets better every video. Okay, I've been thinking about this for a while, and you guys know that my mentality, at least with social media and with YouTube, is just transparency, authenticity, genuinity, like no bullshit, essentially. I don't want to put on an act or a persona or like try to make things seem like they're better than they are or worse than they are. Like, I just want to be like authentic. Wow, this is heavy. Oh boy. Ugh. I wanted to like talk while I'm pulling this out of the car. I can't multitask like that. This is too heavy. This right here is gonna be the start of my business. I think that there's a lot of reasons that successful businesses and companies don't share all the behind the scenes stuff and aren't fully transparent and honest, and I'm sure there's a reason behind it. However, I kind of want to take just a polar opposite approach and just be overly transparent with this. And when I say this, I'm talking about like mainly fingerboard obstacles, because that's my main focus right now in terms of what generates the most revenue and what's the most sustainable. That doesn't mean it can't branch into other things, like I keep mentioning bottle openers and keychains and just stuff like that. But up until this point, I've been running everything at a loss, which is fine. Like I don't expect, or I haven't expected this to be like a profitable business because it's all been like a hobby for now. This hobby just isn't sustainable as I've progressed. And I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I know everything now, like I'm a professional. Hell no, I'm still a clueless little lost baby deer in the wild when it comes to this stuff, but I'm getting better. And as I progress and as I further my skills, I really am learning that this is something I want to do long term. Whether it's fingerboard rail creation or just metal fabrication in general, social media or not, this is something that I enjoy, that I have a passion for. And if I want to continue this passion, full transparency, I need to find a way to monetize it. That's sort of where I've been kind of juggling this idea in my head of, do I do what most people do, where they just kind of start their business and they handle all the behind the scenes stuff, the financial stuff, the bookkeeping, accounting, all that behind the scenes, kind of where it belongs? Or do I just continue on this whole authenticity thing that I'm on that makes me mentally happy, which I think is really important, and I sort of document and talk about all of that stuff and the journey to making this a successful and sustainable and profitable business. I have gotten advised to not do that. I've gotten advised to not over publicize it like that, but I think I'm gonna do that anyway because it's what I want to do. Where that leaves us is, let me see if I can bring this whole sheet over. God, I wanna calculate everything, because I like everything that I've sold so far, whether I've sold it for money or not, I've sold it at a loss. I have spent more on materials and especially labor. I've been clocking 10, 12-hour labor days, and I'm selling these things for like 25, 30 bucks. It's not profitable, it's not sustainable, but it has been enough to continue fueling it. But like, I need to be honest with myself, and because I feel like I'm too much of a little softy, bro. It's like, oh, I'm having fun. Like, it doesn't really need to be profitable. I can just do this for fun. People enjoy watching. It's like, yeah, sick. That's not sustainable. If I want to do this long time, I think I have to make it I do have to make it profitable. Today, we're putting on our adulting hats, our businessman CEO hats, and we're gonna make some stuff. We're gonna do some calculations, and we're gonna be smart and not run this business to the ground. Hopefully. How do I get this on here? My God. A couple videos ago, and this was literally weeks, if you guys have been watching the content in the works, we finally made a bike rack style fingerboard rail that I'm comfortable with the quality of, and I want to sell this. I no longer feel like it's a blem. I don't feel like it's half-assed. Like, this is a representation of the quality that I strive for all of my handmade fingerboard obstacles. This is it right here. The thing is, this took us a very long time, like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to make, and that's just one. That's just one little rail. So today, I went out and bought all of the metal that we need to mass produce, and I put that in quotes because I think this is enough to make 30 of them. This big old sheet is what the actual bike rack itself is cut out of. And then we have this metal, which is a little bit thinner. This is 12 gauge, and that is what the feet or the base plates are cut out of. I'm noting how much I'm spending on material. I'm gonna calculate how much in material each rail costs, and then add whatever my cost of labor is. I have to find something that makes sense sustainably for me. And I want to find, it very well might cost me like $60. That's including my labor to make one of these rails, in which case this business is going to fail before I even start it, and I got to look into other options. We might find out that it's costing me, $5, $10, $15 in materials, then we add $5 for labor, therefore I can sell these for 40 bucks, and it is sustainable. It's something I can do. So this is sort of the make or break day for me. It's just, it's weird for me to talk about because it just sounds like selfish and greedy to need to monetize it. But then the logical part of my brain is like, no shit, you can't just be spending thousands of dollars on metal and machinery and equipment for fun. That's not how the world works, unfortunately. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this here. I'm gonna pull up a stopwatch on my phone, and I'm gonna click start whenever I'm actually working. So me filming, talking to the camera, that doesn't count. I wanna calculate how many actual hours of work time it takes to make these rails. So we're gonna start the timer now. I'm gonna get to prepping, which means that the air compressor has to get turned on. We gotta fill the water table with water. While that is filling up, we gotta go through. I always think the switch is on the front, the switch is on the back. Gotta go through and turn everything on. Oh, I forgot to plug the drain holes. Okay, that might help filling up the table. All right, that is on, and we got that on. Normally I would wait until the air compressor is done filling up because the background noise is awful, but time is ticking. We're loading up the program right right here. I want to get an accurate representation of how many hours I'm clocking into these. That is always the side of businesses that I sell myself short on, because I'm like, oh, it's just labor. Like, I like doing it. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Unfortunately, it does. And I've learned that over the years. We're gonna be cutting these out of this, obviously, but I don't wanna just cut 30 because we're gonna run into problems. What I wanna do is I wanna cut, let's do 4 at a time to try to mitigate having any issues. Oh, thank God, the noise stopped. We're gonna be burning through consumables, like the tips and everything of the plasma cutter, the beads that go into the air filter, like all of this stuff is gonna have to be replaced and monitored during all this. So I figure if I do batches of 4, that'll give us time to examine the cuts, make sure everything's looking good. All right, so let's send the air on over to the plasma cutter, and we should be able to start knocking these out. Safety first, of course. Got my mad scientist goggles on. All right, I think we're good for our first batch. And then, I mean, all of this, like, this is all part of the working time, I guess, but I just get to kind of stand here doing nothing. But I mean, this counts, right? This is why I suck at business, bro. This whole video is essentially dedicated to figuring out my workflow to see if this actually could be a sustainable business or not, which I guess is something that is often overlooked, at least for me. And I think that's like the #1 thing that I can't overlook if I want something to be sustainable. So I wanted to go through and just kind of time everything, and I'm realizing here that a lot of like the quote-unquote time spent, I don't feel very useful, because like this is taking 30-45 minutes to cut, and I can't just leave it unattended. It has to be monitored in case there's a fire or something, so I have to physically be there watching sort of nothing happen. Well, just keeping an eye on things, you know what I mean? So this was sort of the first batch. Things were going well. I just wanted to voice over it so I don't have to hit you guys with the boring elevator music that I usually use. So let's check back in on how we're doing. Okay, that's the first 4. That took a while. So now what I want to do is take out the 4 rails and make sure everything's still looking good. The cuts look clean and all of that. I can see already that our little blue air filter beads are turning pink, so I want to swap those out so that we keep getting clean cuts with no water contamination. Once the plasma torch itself cools down a little bit, I want to check the tip to make sure we don't have to replace that. Now that I'm like seeing what I do, this is gonna take, I think, longer than I thought. One of the mistakes that I made with the first batch, though, was I cut like 25 of them without doing these sort of checks in the middle of them, so we lost a lot of them. So far, the first 2 look good. This one looks good also. And the 4th one, yeah. So the first 4 are good, I would say. I am gonna swap these out, though. I made sure to depressurize the lines first, but let's clear these out. For anyone that hasn't been following the video, I just learned about these not too long ago too. If there's moisture in your air going into the plasma cutter, it can cause a lot of cut imperfections. So you put these little like blue beads in there, and when they start turning pink, that means that they're no longer absorbing water. And realistically, these probably still have a little bit of life left. They're still relatively blue. The bottom ones are pretty pink, and I've ran into a lot of issues from moisture getting in there, so I would rather just start fresh. They're super cheap, and I have a bunch of them. So again, I'm trying to minimize loss here. The new beads are in, and we can send the air back into the line. There we go. Again, I'm probably being over cautious here. Like, I probably could have done 7 of them before having to change out the beads and the consumables, but then we run the risk of like 2 of them are damaged, which is then cutting into profit. And like, this is all stuff I gotta work out and kind of flesh out as we continue this, but I need like a starting point, bro. I'm checking the plasma consumables now, because if that tip gets or maybe I shouldn't say damaged, if it gets worn, because this is a consumable you gotta swap out, you'll start running into some cut issues, but that all looks good. The tip itself still looks good. So we should be good to run I'll do another 3 so that we can finish this whole side. We have our last 3 ready, and that'll kind of finish off that row like I was saying, and then again, we'll do another reevaluation. To try to be like efficient here, as I'm cutting these, I'm also gonna start cleaning these ones up, because that takes a whole lot of time as well. I've came to a couple conclusions since filming this video, and I will get to that later, but the #1 issue, if you want to call it that we're running into, is labor. You know, material, you'll see here that it's not costing too much in material, but labor, like cleaning each one of those, I'm using a cold chisel and just kind of hammering away the dross. I'm spending 5 to 10 minutes per rail, just in getting it ready for the next step. So you multiply that, like if there's any chance of scaling it to more than 20 or 30 rails, it's pretty impractical. But like I said, I've came to some conclusions since filming this that kind of will help mitigate that, but we'll get to that later. In the meantime, here's where we're at so far. Okay, there's our other 3. Step outside for the air compressor noise. During those cuts, I was able to get the first 4 relatively cleaned up, but I do still have to go over it with an angle grinder before welding and all that. Our final 3 though, you can see they're starting to get a little bit more top dross, which means it's probably time to change the tip out. But let's take these out and see how we're looking. All of the cuts look good. These ones are gonna need a little bit more cleanup, but they're still completely usable. Let's check the last one here. This one actually looks better than the first one. This one looks good. So I think I'm just gonna keep kind of rinsing and repeating this. What I'm gonna do though is now I'm gonna try doing a full row of all 7 of them, so we don't have to stop halfway through. We have new beads, and I'm gonna do new consumables, and let's just knock out a full row here. While that's all cutting, I'm gonna set you guys up on a time lapse, and I'm gonna keep cleaning these up and getting everything ready. And again, we're going for efficiency here. I really want like an accurate count of hours that go into these rails. Here's where we started realizing that this wasn't sustainable, and I'm gonna talk more in depth about this near the end of the video, but this is like during the cuts here, I was also off camera, I was calculating how much I spent on materials, what my quote unquote hourly rate should be, and kind of all these variables that I always overlook when I start these businesses or side quests. I don't even know what you want to call them. And we'll see at the end here that I'm only putting in, in total for these 30 rails, I think it's going to come out to around 9 to 10 hours of actual physical labor, which sounds fine. Like I'm fine. I don't mind working. I don't mind hard work. 9 to 10 hours is nothing. But what I'm realizing is the scalability of that is none. Like if I want to sell more than 30 rails, like obviously it would be a miracle if I could sell 100, 200, 300 rails. I just physically would not be able to put that many hours of labor in, because that'd be, 50 hours of labor on top of my social media, YouTube, editing. Like it's just not sustainable. So more on that at the end of the video, but this is sort of where I made that realization that this wasn't very sustainable. Okay, so we just finished that row of 7. Things are going good, but I'm getting like tired. My hands are sore right now. Oh, look at my goggle mark. I just stopped the timer so I can talk to the camera for a sec. We are 1 hour and 13 minutes in, and during all that I was doing some calculations too. The 1/4-inch plate steel that I'm using I get for $15.50 per square foot. I got 8 square feet of it for this project, which was about $124, I think. The 12 gauge plate steel, which is going to be the base plate, the feet of the rail, I get for $6.84 per square foot. I'm having doubts about this because I have so much work ahead of me. This is the cost breakdown using all of this information for each of these rails. So we need a 3x8 piece of that 1/4-inch plate, and that is $2.58 worth of material. The 2 base plates are only 18 cents worth of material. That's the two feet. That puts us at what, 270, I'm not very good at math, but $2 and something cents in material for each one of these rails, which that's very appealing, right? We're under $3 in materials for each rail, but the labor that goes into this is what's killing me. Any big, like legit company, Black River, whatever, they all use laser cutters as opposed to plasma cutters, and there is like 1/100th of the cleanup needed with laser cutting. This is a Black River rail. All of these, like these legs and everything, were laser cut with the hole in the bottom, so everything just puzzle pieces together with no imperfections, minimal cleanup. The problem is, like, the laser cutter machines they use are hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, they're not consumer grade. So it's like, then the other part of it is like I can outsource the cutting, and then I can get that shipped to me, and then I weld it. So it's still handmade. It's hand assembled by me. And again, like, dude, this is where like the over explaining, the over transparency, the over honesty. I think the quote unquote quote smart thing to do would just be to do that. Like I outsource the laser cutting, I document me assembling it. They're still all handmade by me in my garage, and like that would take, you know, 6 hours out of the work required. But I take so much pride in like making it all in here, like cutting it, designing it, like I don't know, dude. A lot to think about, and that's kind of why I wanted to make this video. Still working with it, still figuring out the numbers. I've gone through 8 of them so far and got them cleaned up where they're ready to weld. So I used the cold chisel to get all the big dross off, and then I went through with the angle grinder to get all the sharp edges down, and like these are weld ready. These ones are not, and this was like almost an hour of work in itself just getting these ready. The rest of this is gonna just be super repetitive. We're just gonna be doing these rows of 7, do 1 more there, check all the consumables, do another row, check all the consumables, do another row. No need to bore you guys with that footage, but I guess I'll just see you. we'll see how long it takes to get everything even cut. I'm not even gonna clean them up right now. So just cutting wise, let's see what we're at. Dude, this is not sustainable. Wait, it feels like I've been working for 16 hours. It's only been 3 hours and 16 minutes. That's been like pausing if I'm going to the bathroom, you know what I mean? 3 hours and 16 minutes of like actual work. See, but then I start getting in my head like 3 hours of work isn't shit for someone that like works a job. It's just like, it's so taxing, bro. But I did go through. I got every single rail fully prepped. So that was literally like 2 hours of that was getting everything grinded down, getting everything cleaned up, getting all the dross done. Or dross, I can't even think, bro. I would take this cold chisel and I would just sit on these stairs for literally 2 hours, just chiseling away. You can see all the dross I've chiseled off. And then, no, I guess that's probably like an hour and a half of chiseling. And then like 45 minutes-ish going over everything with the grinder to finish cleaning them up and getting them all ready. I'm calling it for today, and dude, that's where I start getting super discouraged. It's like, dude, we have to go through that whole process again for the feet, right? Because this is just the rails. That's not even including the feet yet, which we gotta CNC cut. Then it's like cleaning up all. Let's see, I did the math wrong. We ended up making more rails than I thought. We did lose 1 due to a little error, but besides that, we got the full sheet. We got 36 rails, which isn't like, the material cost is great. Spending 150-ish bucks for 36 rails in material, like in theory, I'm like, oh dude, this is great. This is a great business model. It's gonna be like 10 hours of labor. I still got some figuring out to do. I still gotta do some calculations. I just wanna go like chill outside for a sec. I gotta get out of this shop. It's the next day now. I am showered, I am rested, I feel much better and slightly less discouraged today. I talked about it kind of briefly at the end of the video there, and then more so in the voiceovers. Dude, look at the plasma table, all the leftover residue, the little ovals from inside the rails. I've been experimenting a little bit off camera, so there should be some extras here now because I've been trying some new methods to speed stuff up. But about 3.5 hours to get everything cut and then roughly prepped, like get all the dross off, angle grinder, all that. Repeat that process for the feet, because if we made 30 rails, each rail needs 2 feet. That gives us 60 feet. That's a thinner metal, so that should cut faster. So let's add an hour and a half for cutting, cleaning, and prepping all of the feet. And then welding, I can tell you right now that doing all 30, or what did we say, 37 of those rails, my brain's so discombobulated. We're looking at another 5 hours to go through and meticulously TIG weld each rail. It brings us to around 9 to 10 hours total for 30 rails. And this is where I was getting kind of like stuck in my head. 9 to 10 hours isn't shit. And that's like what I was like, dude, people work 9 to 10 hours a day. Like, why does this not feel right? It's the scalability of it. Because like I said, I'm fine working. I don't mind hard work. As a matter of fact, like I enjoy that type of work, like metal fabrication, grinding shit down. Like I love the shop environment and like clocking in the hours. What I realized the issue was let's say, because I mean, if I sold 37 rails, again, I'd have to actually write it down on the whiteboard, but I think it puts us around, depending on what we price them at, like around $900 to $1,000 in profit. Which again, like that's where I got in my head, like, dude, $1,000 for 10 hours of work, like say less. It's the sustainability that's not there. I can't clock in 10 hours a day prepping all of these and getting these rails done because I have run a social media business. I edit all my own videos, I film all my own stuff, like the whole social media side of things is all me. That's my full-time job. That's 8 hours a day relatively 7 days a week, depending on my upload schedule. The number one most time-consuming aspect of this is welding the feet onto the rails themselves, which we haven't even done that yet. A very close second, as you guys saw in the background of some of those time lapses, it's just cleaning them. I was going through with this this cold chisel, and you just gotta like chisel away all the dross for each and every one. That was taking, you know, hours and hours and hours in itself. I found something that helped with that. This wire wheel attachment for the grinder made my life so much easier, and I was able to go through and get the dross. I did a couple more test cuts here. I was able to clean each one and get it ready. I think it took me like 2 minutes per rail versus the 10 or 15 that we were on. That gave me hope. And then here's where my brain starts going. I actually reached out and I looked into getting them professionally laser cut to where I would submit the design for both the feet and the rail itself. Obviously, it depends, like if we're doing multiple rails, each rail would be a relatively different price. But for that specific bike rack rail, we're looking at about $15 per rail, and that includes the feet. And that's, you know, shipped to my door. I could get a box of 100 of them, and then all I have to do is weld them together. That would cut my labor time from 8 to 10 hours to maybe 1 to 2 hours. However, then it ups my cost from $3, what were we at, $2.70 to $15 per rail. And then it's like, well, then is it really handmade? Like, the appeal is that I program this shit myself. I learn how to use the plasma cutter. Like, I make them all myself. That's the appeal of it. As I'm spiraling. As you can tell, I don't know what to do. I don't know the best route to take this. Maybe the best route is to not do it. Maybe I don't do it. Maybe it does just kind of stay as a hobby whenever I'm able to make it happen. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. What made a lot of sense in my head, and again, this is a genuine question to you guys because you are the consumers here. I can very easily prototype myself. So the content would be making these new rail designs, cutting them out in the plasma cutter, you know, putting the hours in on a very small scale for like 5 rails each run. And then once we settle on a design that we like, then I outsource the laser cutting and I order 50 of them. I order 100 of them. The rails get shipped to my house, the feet get shipped to my house, and I still spend, you know, however many hours it takes to weld them together and get them finished, paint them, finish them, ship them out. Does that still interest you, the fact that they're not cut in my own garage and or is that the appeal? I know a lot of people like ordering from me don't give a shit about fingerboarding. They just want to either support me or want something that I made, which is awesome, by the way. Thank you. I mean, there's just like so many thoughts going through my head of like how to make this financially sustainable while also keeping it fun, because this whole thing started as a passion. I don't want to take that away from it, but I mean, something's got to change if we want to continue this long term. So I'm curious to read through the comments of this. I feel like being overly transparent like this is either gonna be good or bad. We'll see. Kind of curious to see how you guys feel about this one. Regardless, thank you guys for watching and hopefully helping me come to a decision on what to do moving forward. Catch you guys next video. Thank you for watching. Peace out.